If you're anything like me and you were watching the second season of Mando on Disney+, you were likely enthralled with everything that Star Wars should be. Complex nature and interesting thoughts, especially with the Empire, the character depth with lore and growth, the mimicking of past brilliant moments in Star Wars. But then we ended up on this. Mark Hamill's lifeless face, and pretty much a deepfake not any better than you'd see here on YouTube. Now, it definitely didn't take me out of the story, but let's be honest, it was far from great. And since Disney Plus is launching what seems like 100 new Star Wars shows, it makes sense that we will see Luke's face on screen again. So rather than just deepfaking it, or whatever this is, let's cast him with a real tangible actor. Someone who could not only fill in for cameos like this one, but maybe, just maybe, have their own show where we can see Luke actually training Grogu. But if we're casting Luke, why stop there? Because there are major players we've yet to see again in Star Wars. I know Han and Lando have already been played by previous actors and their younger selves, so it makes sense to just use those actors again. But for Luke, or Leia, or even the Emperor, we need new actors that not only look like the original character, but share that same presence. So today we're tackling some of those heavy hitters of the Star Wars franchise and recasting them in the Mando timeline, and essentially filling in those gaps in their story. So today we are tackling middle versions of Luke, Leia, and Emperor Palpatine. So let's recast Star Wars. First up, we have the man himself, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, the main hero of our original trilogy. Now, I took some researching, but in Mandalorian, Luke is actually approximately 28 years old, which makes sense why he's so powerful and well-trained. But this is far from the end of Luke's story. We could obviously watch him and explore him training with Grogu, but also with Ben Solo, and really the start and the fall of the Jedi Temple that he tries to establish. It's a really interesting point in his life. Now, with casting Luke for this age specifically, is very different than tackling him at the start of the trilogy. Luke is obviously more confident, aware, and almost at peace with himself. He remains more stoic and graceful in Mandalorian than we've really ever seen him before. We want someone who obviously can bring that to this role, but also the complexity for someone who will eventually be conflicted by a student. We need some sort of duality. In my mind, there is one perfect choice for Luke at this specific age. If they were rebooting the trilogy, it wouldn't work, but at this age, Sebastian Stan is the choice. Now, Sebastian Stan is about 10 years older than Luke should be at this age, but he almost looks nearly identical to Mark Hamill in Jedi. So the age actually matters a little less. As well, Sebastian Stan has shown in the past that he can play stoic and conflicted characters. Bucky has one of the most interesting stories in all of the MCU, and Stan pulls it off brilliantly.
You ready to follow Captain America into the jaws of death?
Hell no. That little guy from Brooklyn who was too dumb not to run away from a fight. I'm following him.
I think he has the look, but he can also play every single side of this character, and he can definitely do justice to the missing link in Luke's story, but also make it his own.
Then finish it. Because I'm with you to the end of the line.
So Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker. Next up, we have Princess Leia. Now, Leia is tough because her story has a little less focus on it than that of Luke's through this period, but it gives us some room to kind of explore things that was lost with the death of Carrie Fisher. I think they originally set up Leia to be the star of the third of the sequel trilogy, which eventually became Rise of Skywalker. I think it would have given her an opportunity to show off her powers and her use of the Force, as well as making her a main player within the storyline. Unfortunately, we will never see that, so this may be the only time we ever can explore Leia training with the Force. Now, every single choice I came up with Leia just kind of felt wrong. I really like Florence Pugh to take that more badass direction, but much like other actors, it just didn't feel right. No one out there really has what Carrie Fisher brought to the role, and majority of those actors would almost be doing a disservice to her. That's why I eventually resulted on Billie Lourd. Now, Billie Lourd is obviously Carrie Fisher's daughter in real life, and normally I would shy away from that type of casting. But after seeing Lourd in Booksmart, I can confidently say, this girl can act. Not only can she act, but she can steal a scene.
Okay.
You can't tell anyone. Not even each other.
Okay.
I am pretty impressed with how well you guys are holding it together. You're doing fantastic.
What do you mean?
I thought the strawberries would have hit by now.
Why would strawberries hit?
Because They were dipped in an unbelievably potent drug. It's like ayahuasca, but Asian. Asian Waska.
I can't wait for her to do more and to really take on more prominent roles. But she definitely piqued my interest in Booksmart, and I would really love to see her don a role as big as this one. She's also expressed interest in taking on this role out of respect for her mother. I think it'd just be appropriate and touching for that mantle to be passed on. So Billie Lourd as Princess Leia. Lastly, we have Emperor Palpatine. Now, I know many people had extremely mixed feelings about Palpatine within Rise of Skywalker, much like I did. I felt like it was unearned and really an unfortunate reveal. But that being said, maybe a retcon is in order, something that makes more sense than what they did in Rise of Skywalker. Maybe there's actually an interesting story to be told here. I mean, sure, yeah, you could get Ian McDiarmid back in the role and have him do the exact same thing he's done in every single trilogy within Star Wars, but for me, I kind of want to go a different direction. I know some of you couldn't even consider recasting, but I think Gary Oldman could be the only actor who could really take this and actually expand on this. He is 25 years younger than Ian, which would work inside this timeline that we're setting up, but he's an actor who transforms. I mean, you can see him taking this on without holding anything back, really leaning into the makeup and transforming into a different character. It's also important that Oldman has never been afraid to go big and bold with his choices.
Welcome to my home.
Palpatine has never been a subtle character, but Oldman brings that loud, bold performance with subtlety behind it. We've seen him do it so many times before, and it'd be really interesting if he could bring that to this role.
I told you. Betty, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
I feel like he play homage to Ian, but really make it his own. I want to see Gary Oldman bring that dimension and that complexity that I've always felt that Palpatine has been missing. I would love to round out this character and not just have Rise of Skywalker be this laugh and a whimper to his story. In my opinion, Gary Oldman can do no wrong. So when he takes on a role like Chancellor Palpatine, or Emperor Palpatine in this case, he would really bring the dimension to fully form this character and bring different dimensions to it. So Gary Oldman as Emperor Palpatine. So there are my recasts of Star Wars for the Mandalorian timeline. Of course, this is not a reboot, but let me know if you'd be interested in seeing a full reboot recasting just for fun. I'm midway through a Batman recast right now, but I thought I'd stop off to just do a little Star Wars since Mando's on the top of my mind. But let me know if you enjoyed this and if you want to see more of this in the future. As always, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you again in the next video.